Welcome to the Unfiltered Path Podcast, where we explore life's journeys without the constraints of filters. In a world that is saturated with highlight reels, we dive deep into the true essence of individual experiences, offering our listeners an uncensored glimpse into the triumphs, the struggles, and the transformative moments that define us. Our mission here at the Unfiltered Path Podcast is to provide hope, inspire resilience, and remind you, our listeners, that every path, no matter how windy or rocky, can lead to growth and enlightenment. Join us.
Are you a mid-career professional or a career pivoter who is feeling stuck, burned out, or frustrated by your lack of career progress? You're probably tired of feeling unclear about your next steps, maybe doubting your ability to land the positions you want, or facing rejection after rejection with no progress in sight. It's overwhelming, isn't it? I totally get it. Many of my clients have felt the same way. Stuck in a toxic work environment, lacking confidence, unsure on how to position themselves for success. That's why our proven coaching process to help professionals like you to achieve clarity, build confidence, to create career breakthroughs. Today, I'm offering a free consultation, a personalized one-on-one session to show you exactly how we can achieve your goals. So if you're finally ready to take control of your career, go visit yourcareerpartner.net and set up a time for your free consultation. It's time to invest in your future.
As we navigate the uncharted territories of truth, to be moved, to be inspired, and discover that you are not alone on this unfiltered journey of life. Hey everyone, I'm Trinity Baker. I'm a mindset coach and motivational speaker. I help take clients from unstuck to loving the life that they live with the power of their mindsets. And I'm joined here with my co-host.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle. I'm the owner of Aerial Jade. I'm an aerialist. That's a fancy term for performing suspended in the air. I'm also an educator, so I teach other people how to do it as well. Essentially, I'm the bird of the circus. And we are here with my co-host.
Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Duval. I'm the owner of Valued Productions. My company works to produce and implement video marketing strategies, helping you become more successful with your business and turning strangers into clients. And I am super excited today to be joined by our awesome guest.
Danielle Abbott here. I own the Abbott Advantage, and I help organizations create their strategic learning and development plans to support their leadership and their staff to prevent things like turnover, toxic environments, and really create work environments that people want to show up in and do their best in.
Ooh,
Incredible.
I love that.
I love that. I feel like I'm growing into that.
Yeah. I was just having a conversation with one of my clients the other day, and he was talking about how this concept, and this could be complete, we can get into what we were going to talk about, but what you just said just sparked me wanting to say this, and it's how coming into 2025 that peace is the new capital, where he's seen a lot of people even coming into his business that may have had these like six-figure salaries or whatever, but it was a very soulless position, and that they're coming into, they'd rather have peace and culture, and they may take a hit in their salary for that. And so something to have a better job to come to is the new trend that people are going towards, I think. And I think you help with that.
Prevent your people from leaving, hire Danielle so that you can be that peaceful environment that they don't have to leave, they can just stay at.
Exactly. That is super cool.
Just to add to what Graham was saying, there's actually been lots of studies where people often think money is what keeps people, and money is like number 5 on the list. People want to be part of a bigger picture, and they want to be involved in the mission and that greater good of the organization. And so money is that short-term fix, but we forget that we got the raise and it doesn't impact us long-term. So
it's also remembering the values we love about being an entrepreneur is also commonly the values of the people that maybe not necessarily run a business, but want to be a part of the mission. Like you had just said. I love that because I think COVID really did that. I think COVID was just such an extreme that people just do not care anymore. Like gas stations aren't even open 24/7 anymore. So people don't want to work it. Like, no. And then the people have spoken in large amounts dramatically. So
Yeah, I mean, it goes along with the philosophy that like we have to just embrace everything that happens, and everything that happens is here to re-guide us. And I think the same thing happened with our society as a culture. Like COVID changed things, and this is one of those things that if it can be connected to that, I think is beautiful. We should not in any way ever take a monetary value for disrupting our peace or who we are, unethical, unmoral things. Like I love that that is hopefully going to be the 2025 mission, is getting out of those toxic places. Guys, we spend like the majority of our life doing what we do, whether that's a career, entrepreneurship, business, whatever it is. You better make sure that's a good quality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or be comfortable with change. But I love that your job is kind of like a step for the entrepreneur to invest in their leaders and the people underneath them in such a what I think is logical, but I don't think that business structures necessarily think it's logical. And I know I mentioned it before, but I worked at Bleep, and in that I got anyone that spent 50 grand or more got me on the line. And I would kind of like sometimes just blatantly ask what they're spending their money on, like things like that. And it was always to become a better version of themselves or some type of outsourcing, whether it's a coach or someone comes and hires me for alternative exercise to have fun with it, or, you know, whatever it might be. And that those investments are the reason why they get where they're going. And so I think your job title is to be said about someone that wants to be a good leader.
Yeah, I think more and more too, organizations are realizing that we have done years of promoting people because they were really good at what they did. You are an excellent accountant. You are an excellent salesperson. You are excellent at that. And then we promote them and then we walk away and expect them to know how to lead people. And we don't give them the support that they need to be successful. And then those leaders are burning out, which are in fact, their teams are burning out. And it's just this cycle. So now organizations can promote, and then they can give those new leaders a support person, me, to help them be successful, which has really impacted a lot of the organizations I've worked with.
Yeah. What I love about you is it's, yeah, I'm sure you get individuals that invest in themselves, but I love that you're the next level of an organization investing in you, which is
I like that.
compliment. Like, I think that if you are someone where your employer is investing in your higher education, professionally and personally, like that you are amazing. Like that is a huge compliment. Danielle, I love hearing the stories of people's journeys to how they got where they are, and how you're honoring the gifts that you have. Tell us a little bit about how you became Danielle Abbott Advantage.
Kind of what you were just saying too, of organizations investing in people. I tell people I became a leader when I was 19 years old. I was way too young to be leading people my parents' and grandparents' age, but somebody thought that was a good idea. And I was going to school full time. I was leading a team of 20 people during the day. I worked evening shifts, and I worked for an organization who truly believed in their people. And I think that's where I got those same values, is they really instilled those in me. They invested in my own training and development. They had courses and they had a training and development department. And that was the culture. And it was amazing. And this company no longer exists. And I always tell people the only place I would ever go back and work, if they put a sign up the street and they were coming back, like that is probably the only place I would ever go back to. That's how impactful they were in my growth in my career. So I did that. I was with them for 13 years. I graduated with a psychology degree. I was making way too much money to want to go back to grad school because I was a leader at, 22 at this point. And they were bought out by a bank. And I worked at that bank. They were a bank as well. I worked at that bank. I went into the banking centers, and I was always the banking center manager when the new managers were partnered up with to do that learning and training. I loved it. And that's where I thrived. I love being able to coach my staff and watch them grow and reach all of their goals. And Trinity knows I'm huge on goals and goal setting and goal achieving. And from there, I had a past leader call me, and she was in healthcare and she was moving on. And she said, "Have I got a deal for you? I think you should apply for this job." So I went to one of our largest healthcare systems as the payroll manager, because I came from banking. That seems logical. It was the worst job I ever had. And I couldn't figure it out because I was so good at it. And you guys probably have experienced things where, hey, I'm really good at this. Why don't I like it? Those are not the same thing. Being good and liking something are not the same thing. But I didn't like it because there was no room to develop people. It was very, deadline driven. It was very process driven, as you can imagine, regulation driven, which was all great things, but I didn't have time to really develop people. So I was able to found a non-clinical training department for that healthcare organization, me and one other woman. And we started with workshops. And then I created a year-long mentorship program. And then I worked with Hassan University and created a leadership program with them. And so I got to really dive into that creation piece, which I absolutely love. The pandemic happened, turned everyone's worlds upside down. So I went and I worked from my home office, which was a desk in the corner of my bedroom, for a year, doing research and building trainings that I knew I would never teach because they weren't going to be relevant by the time we were allowed to go back and teach them. The organization I worked for didn't think we could do virtual trainings well, so we weren't doing that. And I was being paid way too much money to do nothing. And most people are like, that sounds like a dream. It was miserable. I wasn't making an impact. And so we had saved money, and I had enough money with my vacation being cashed out that if I didn't make any money in 1 year, we would be fine. We would be able to pay our bills. And I knew I wouldn't make $0. So I decided to quit with the support of my husband, and we had a mini plan, and I put off giving my notice for a really long time. And I called my mother one day and I'm like, I'm going to do this, but I still haven't told Dad. At 40 something years old, I still needed my dad's permission. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Everyone's an entrepreneur. And she's like, why? Just call him. I said, I'm afraid if he doesn't think it's a good idea, I won't do it. She's like, call him. It'll be fine. So I picked up the phone. I called him. I said, hey, I'm quitting my job. I'm starting my own business. And he said two things. He said, one, you're marketable. If you need to work again, you'll find a job. And two, go see my financial advisor. I did both of those things. I thought about it. I'm like, if I have to flip burgers, no shame in that game, I would do it. Like I would do anything to make my dream happen. I gave my notice the next day and I got done 2 months before I had planned to get done. And I haven't looked back. And it's been amazing.
Like,
Love it.
beautiful hair. Of course you're marketable.
Danielle, oh my goodness. There's so many tidbits. I'm just like exploding now. How you said that you were paid the most for doing the least, right? Like, because you weren't making an impact. You are 100% right, where people, I'm sure, looked at you and was like, what's the problem with that? I've been in that position. And as people who are here to serve, that is like the worst spot you can be at, right? And then you said that you created all these trainings that weren't even going to be done. Like, and you're still not making an impact. And so like, I can relate to that as a psychiatric nurse who saw like, I'm here making an impact, but I'm not making the impact I want to make. Yeah. How can I make an impact in the mental health field before we get to psychiatric nursing need? Yeah. And that I then had a passion. And I just want to point this out because Danielle is such an impactful part of my story, is that Danielle was the first person who looked at me and said, then go coach. Like, if you want to coach, go do it. And we just had an episode with Katie, who owns LA Food Truck, who talked about how important mentors are. Danielle has been that mentor, regardless of whether she knows it or not. She has been that mentor for me for a long time, for a very long time. And so thank you for making that possible for me. I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have transformed the life that I've transformed without your work. I mean, I think eventually I'd probably get there, but thank God it didn't take longer.
Like sometimes you just need a kick in the pants. And I truly believe anybody can do anything.
Yeah.
Like you can.
We can. And there's so many kicks in the pants that are there. Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's situations. And Danielle, you talked about the kick in the pants being like, I need to make an impact. I'm going to do it. And so I love your story and I love that you share it authentically, because that's the most impactful way that we can do that.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
That was the short version.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Lots of
Anyone listening that has a business deeply understands that it's pretty deep, you know. I love that you come from a family of entrepreneurs and that there's almost like a process, like initiation kind
It is. I grew up in that world. My grandfather owned his business. My dad owns his business, which is going to my brother. My mother had a daycare as I was growing up. She had it all through high school. She went back into the school system for a few years, and now she's a Reiki master. So she still has her own business. My grandparent, it was inevitable that I was going to be an entrepreneur. How and what was always the question, until that pivotal moment where you're just like, this is what I'm meant to do.
What's cool is that it was an organization that was your mentor. Like if you look all the way back, it wasn't a person that was your mentor. It was an organization and how it was run that was a mentor. And then you were like, how can I replicate this in other places?
100%.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I have an uncle that's an 8th-degree black belt and is in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. And he's in hiding, so I can't actually even say his name or even post pictures of him and stuff, because he was the warden of the largest prison in a particular state.
Wow.
Anyways, so he's badass. But he started a business there where he did family karate. So you couldn't just drop off the kids, you participate. So he was looking for a very specific niche client. Anyways, it wasn't successful. It's just like just dread and sadness when he tells a story. And so kind of at the root of how I approach my business is that, but I went about it very indirect because I acknowledged what didn't work for him. So parents train for free. And so every time they come, I ask, and then they tell me no, but I know how no's work. Do you guys know how no's work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, one of my, she's a math professor at Bates, and she just climbed the slope for the first time after her daughter's been a student for a year and a half. And I'm so proud of that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I've had her daughter perform for me, like, we're family. And so, but it's funny because that's what's like, that's that seed that's just in my soul that feeds me, and it's really from a family's attempt at it and being extreme athletes and discipline and teaching that skill. And it really goes hand in hand with business and leadership. And so a lot of my inspiration comes from that. And your story reminded me of like how important that small detail is and how I conduct my business. So thank you for reminding me, because usually, family does inspire us, so even if it's negative or positive.
But this is how impactful our stories are, right? Like our stories need to be told, which is one of the parts I love about the podcast. Graham, you and I have been talking about story for a long time and how impactful it is.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's so interesting that we're talking about story today, because I was just watching another like inspiration of mine this morning in some training, and we were talking about like personal branding and how there's a lot of especially online, there's a lot of people out there who have these like props of like displays of what is successful and things like that, and it's like skewing a lot of this like visibility, and it's so much more than just like, oh, I'm on the yacht and I've got this like thing, and like, you know what I mean? It's about that journey, like what you were talking about, Danielle, and like actually the authentic like feelings and like the transformations that you've gone through, and like how you connect with someone. Because like when you think about it, like for example, like one of the most successful like YouTubers out there right now, like Mr. Beast, Jimmy, whatever, like, yeah, he makes great videos and like does like all these crazy things, but who actually is, nobody knows like who he actually is, like what is like, who is he, you know what I mean? Like his brand is huge and like makes a crap ton of money, but like we don't know that personal brand of who he is, and so like when we can convey that like emotion and that authentic like journey and transformation, that's what develops the personal brand, and that's where people build the connection, especially going into 2025 now, where like there is so much of that just like big show and like all this stuff out there. People want to relate to that journey. They want to relate to like that struggle that that thing that you overcame, just the passion, all that stuff. And that isn't shown in a lot out there. But with what you were just sharing, it is, and so like that's the development of the personal branding and how you can build authentic connections through that relation of what you've gone through when building your community around people, especially when you talk about developing people, like they relate to that. They see that you've gone through all that stuff and like how you came out and like needing to make that impact. And that's the thing that is what the growth comes from. And so I'm all about that.
You just make such a great point. People, how do I want to say this? The way things get done are based on the relationships we have. Mm-hmm. And yes, there's all these huge names out there and they're big and everything looks so perfect. And even now I run into people that I've worked with in the past and they're like, oh, how's it going? And I feel uneasy still saying things are great because I know they're miserable where they're at because I was there and I went through the whole burnout, and that's a whole, side story. But I almost have this guilt of being like, no, it's great, but don't mistake great for not, it's still hard. It's mm-hmm. still stressful. It's mm-hmm. still, because I think people see social media or they mm-hmm. see me saying, no, like I would never go back to the corporate world or this, I'm living my dream. They see and hear those things and they mistake that for being easy. And I'm like, no, those are two different things. The hard is just different.
Exactly.
And I'm willing to do this hard. I was not willing to do that hard anymore. And you get choices, and it's all about the choices you decide to make.
100%. And through that, that's like you were saying, that's where those connections are like built, and where you grow through those relationships. Your net worth is your network, as they say.
So true.
So true. Choose your hard. Danielle, I love that statement. Like everything is hard. You just have to choose which one. I just had a call with a client this morning. And we were talking about that, choosing hard, because a lot of the decisions that we are faced with, they're hard. And they go to one path or the other, right? Like you can see where you're heading with the decision that you're making. And a lot of people hold themselves back because it's hard to make decisions that a lot of other people won't make. But when we choose to do that, all four of us here can agree. And when you choose to do that, that's where you then get led to where you're meant to be, like leaving a job that is secured with benefits, high paying, to go out on a whim and say, you know what, I'm going to follow my dream. Like that is really hard. But look where it's led you, and then look where it's going to be leading you, right? So you're going to not be like the rest of society that goes and retires at, 102 years old and then never enjoys a retirement. Like there's so many things you're going to teach your kiddo about entrepreneurship, right? So like that potentially could have been stopped with your generation if you didn't do that, right? So there's just, there's so many things you can sit here and brainstorm all day long on the path. You create the path though, by the choices you make.
Mm-hmm.
Really
mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah, most definitely. And in doing that, like it all ties in, and it's that authenticity. Like when you make those choices, it's not like you were saying, Danielle, it's not just showing and like conveying that level of hard or easy, like authentically of what it is. It's not being displayed in something else, and that's where you can show the truth and the real story, because that's where it's at, the realness. And I know for me, this podcast has definitely like allowed me to get to that point of a little bit more vulnerability, of like sharing more of that actual story, and not just like my business persona story. You know what I mean? It's like, well, my business persona story came from the fact of me doing all these other things and realizing like life was unsustainable before, and like getting to a place of being able to even like believe in myself enough to like go into my passion. And then that sparked a whole nother journey. And you know what I mean? So like Yeah.
It's all intertwined. It's all
Yes.
intertwined.
Yes.
We
Exactly.
we do not live in the world anymore where work and no matter if you're in the corporate world or not, where work and personal are separated. We talk about
Definitely.
that in a lot of my classes. I'm like, okay, 20, 30, 40 years ago, your parents came home from work and nobody was texting them and emailing them and they were home and they worked their 40 or 50 hours a week. And now, no matter what world you're living in, we don't have the capability to disconnect like we could before because everybody has one of these.
Yep.
And it's strange and it causes a lot of stress and anxiety, but we are so connected that how are we connecting? Is it valuable? Is it not?
Exactly. And if you show up unapologetically your true self to whatever, you don't have anything to worry about because now you're not like, oh, well, I'm showing this yacht thing here and it's like crazy, but then like I'm flipping burgers, like not that there's anything wrong with that, but like making $9.50 an hour. You know what I mean? Whatever. So like,
well, that's relatable in everything that we do. Like when you feel incongruent with who you are, it is, I think, one of the most painful things in the world. And so you have to choose your heart. Either be unapologetically yourself, authentic and vulnerable with who you are, honoring your journey, where you're going, where you've been, everything of who you've built, your true self, or choose the door of feeling incongruent and like crap because you're living two different lives and you don't know where the truth is between the two.
Yeah.
And it feels freaking good just to be yourself and not gonna like it. And that's okay. There are how many people on this earth? Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
No, I always say I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but
yeah, right.
I mean, either.
And I love what you were saying too about how in today's world we don't have that ability to disconnect as much like in before. It's interesting because I was filming for a client yesterday and he was talking about how because they're going through like hiring processes and they were just like talking about their experiences and they were saying that one of the people they hired came from they got the application in, they looked at the application, but then went and looked at their Facebook and like looked at the Facebook to make sure that everything was in line. And like, I knew that businesses did that, but I just like, it was interesting to be like, wow, okay, that people are actually doing that and hiring based on that. And so it just shows even more that like, it's not just like you put in your paper application and nobody sees anything else that you're doing. Like people are looking.
Yeah. And people know, like, I don't know about you. I know you guys all have really large networks as well. And so I just hired somebody for the first time in my business to teach workshops for me, which is nerve-wracking and exciting all at the same time, because now I'm literally handing my creation to somebody else to go in a classroom and teach. And so she did her first class yesterday. It went fabulous. She did a wonderful job. I wasn't there, but I heard the feedback and it was hard for me to hand that over to somebody. So I don't know this whole, and now I lost my whole train of thought because I'm like, like that was so scary.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
that's what we've been talking about though, because I think we're all in a very similar place in our own business. And so it's just been top of conversation and it is scary. We're all kind of working through different layers of fear involving that because it's kind of like your baby, right? Like your business is a reflection of you. And so it's sensitive to hand it over because I remember when I used to have to give paintings to people when it's theirs and they paid for it and I had to like grieve. I was like, sure. The BNI one, Giselle like cried over it and has asked for it back like twice.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is like
anything about anything, but that painting was just so special to her. And it was just interesting.
And I think it's also like, it's your perspective on it, right? It's your mindset. So I went through this when I hired my assistant. Is a lot of the stuff I have her doing is my branding stuff, right? She's sending emails. That's my name. She's posting on social media. That's my face. Like it is my business. And so I got panicked for a hot second and was like, nope, never mind. I'm just gonna have her do administrative stuff. But then I said to myself, she's being put in my life for me to teach her. And what I'm teaching her what I'm called to give her for work and tasks is what she needs to learn. And I need to learn how to delegate if I'm going to bring my business to where it needs to go to make the impact I want to make. And so when you look at it like that, Danielle, like you are giving someone an opportunity to step in like you did me. You know, your goal setting workshop that I took gave me the okay to become a coach. Like it was not a, hey, become a coach workshop. Like you are giving her whatever she needs, he or she needs in doing the work that you do. And you have to trust that. And I think that's the hardest part. Really, like, yes, it's our content, it's our babies, it's our business, but you're trusting someone else to bring on like sort of your legacy in a way, right? I don't know. It's a whole growth. It's a whole growth. But that's also where a lot of people fold. They don't take that next step. And that's
so much growth. And as I was onboarding her and bringing her on, I'm like, oh, this is what I do with leaders. Like as a leader in an organization, you can't do it all. You need to delegate. I'm like, I need to sit back and take my own advice.
Oh my gosh.
And honestly, I probably should have hired her a year ago.
I heard this is kind of was a hard something to like process, but I heard the message for what it was. And it says what happens is some people just pay to work for themselves. To be an entrepreneur is a totally different thing. So you have to give away a little bit of yourself in order to actually be just paying to have the job you like to do. It's just, it's such a different thing. And when I saw that, I was just acting as like I'm paying so I can be an aerialist, so I really heard that message. And so I'm like, okay, so how can I grow? How can I start to, share and collaborate and, lead and all those things.
Oh,
That's true.
I totally relate with that. I mean, this whole thing, like this is some of the stuff even that Trinity and I have been working on with my team, and just like the clarity and like the delegation and like the directions. And sometimes too, when you do hand things off too, things don't always go as smooth, but you have to have that know in what you're doing to be able to pinpoint if something is off track, or you need to pivot, or maybe they're in the wrong role, or as far as like even my own mindset as far as things, as far as like okay, where I'm at, being able to release and feel good about paying them for the value that they're bringing, or whatever it is, and so yeah, I totally relate with that, because otherwise you can't do it all yourself. There's no way I would be able to be where I'm at right now doing this by myself.
Have yourself. You just stop. Like there's only so much that we can do.
Literally.
The universe is always giving us ways to maximize that and like, be able to delegate the virtual assistants, the people we hire to help support us in whatever way it is, the aerial, like any way that we're always given ways to help us. Like courses, for example. Okay. So I'm going to start create course. I've got them ready to go. And that's there to help me get my message wider without taking more time from me. And so like, we have to look at opportunities as they are. There's a reason why I'm pulled to courses. There's a reason why like Graham does what he does. He helps people get their messages out. There's a reason that Danielle, you do what you do. And Danielle, you do what you do. Like, but the difference is that we're able to see that and act on it instead of hold ourselves back on that. So I encourage our listeners to ask, what are you ignoring? What signs, what messages are you ignoring? Because you're ignoring some. We're all ignoring some. We just have to open our eyes a little more. There's always messages to be found. Like, I don't know. It's like digging for treasure. It's there. You just got to dig. You got to open.
And we know. We just have to figure it out. But I go back to the message. So I had my daughter late in life. I was 39. And now I have a almost 7-year-old. So I had her. I'm what? What'd you say?
Sorry, where you just skip past that part. Look, I'm like blushing. I got really sorry.
I did.
You look good, girl. Rock it.
Thanks, love. Yeah. So I had her at 39, but then back to work. I said I'm only going back 4 days a week, and I had this extra day that also helped me kind of figure out that business stuff. And when I came into my business, my goal was, I'm like, if I have to work as much as I did in the corporate world so that I miss things, then it's not for me and I'll go back to the corporate world. Like, that's my kind of why. Like, I want to do things. And so yesterday, she had her Christmas concert. It was at 1:00. I had this workshop scheduled at 1:00. I couldn't change it. It was for 70 people. It had been scheduled for months. And then just all of this kind of divine timing. So this was the first class my trainer took. And I was able to be at my daughter's concert. She had her first solo. She was so excited. And I was able to be there and be present, even though, I mean, it was her first class. So I was a little thinking over here too, but I would have been able to do that. And that's the whole reason why I worked for myself. Like, if I go way back, like, that's really that why piece, is to be present in her life. So.
Yeah. And that's a journey right there. I mean, look how many pieces of that puzzle was there to make yesterday align. That is freaking cool. That is
that's a nice story. It's nice. The universal winks are always the best.
Universe is always good to us. Danielle, I have a question for you. You have a lot of experience in this field. And like you said, you were a leader since you were 19. And, you know, I think leadership is a quality, right? So it's probably ingrained in you from birth. What is one piece of advice you have for people who are struggling to take that next step, whether it's to even honor the gift that they're given in starting a business, or they're like mid-business, they're feeling defeated? Like, what is one piece of advice you'd say as an expert in your field of personal development to push forward and be resilient?
I want to say Nike said it best, just do it. But it really comes down to, if you're scared, it's probably the right thing to do. If you weren't scared and you weren't stressing about it and you weren't, then it doesn't mean you want it badly. And when you want something bad enough, you will do the things it takes to get there. And I've worked with, besides leadership coaching, I do still do some clients with success coaching, which is figuring out your dreams and what are your values and how do you live your life according to those values and reach your goals while doing it. And so many times, like, I would have clients be like, oh my God, and I'm like, well, if you're scared, you're ready. And I have a client that went back to beauty school at 50 years old, and she's working full time and going to beauty. And she's like, I'm 50. And I'm like, yeah, but this is what you've always wanted to do. And so do it scared.
Do it scared. Do it scared.
Oh, that's my life.
Do it.
Yeah.
Woo.
Do it scared. Do it with the anxiety. Do it scared. Do it upside down. Do it. Just have to get out there and do it.
Nike did it, Danielle, but you just do it scared. We're going to start requiring our guests to come on with and I don't even think we need to prepare them because they're just bringing it.
I saw something recently that said the opposite of love isn't hate, because hate is like still a reaction. So fear, hate, like, oh my God. Indifference is when you have no reaction to it at all. So usually if we're scared about doing something, it's still in alignment with love or desire or wanting to in some way, which can be hard to accept some exes knowing that information, but it's true. So
can I add another one? I have another one, Trinity. Yeah. Danielle just made me think of the other thing is making sure that the goal you're reaching for is your own goal. Because I see it a lot in the corporate world, but even outside, like, a lot of times, oh, my leader thinks I should be the next leader, or my so-and-so thinks I should. So that's the goal I'm shooting for. You're not going to be successful. It's not your goal. And so just really being able to reflect and making sure that the things you're shooting for and striving for are truly your goals and not what somebody else is imposing on you.
Or like, my mentor is her, so I can't be her. So you got to find your own voice in it too. So that also helps, because some people are like, oh, I want to do XYZ because the blueprint already exists, but really it's XYZ this way. And so it's not just what someone else tells you. It might be what you only think is the possible way, but there's another way. Like, I wanted to go to all the schools and do PE and like just go from school to school and give my time. And that had its obstacles, whatever. So now I am a PE teacher of the homeschooling network. That's my own way. Right. That was my own way. It was the same goal. I just pivoted. it a little bit.
How can you take your vision, your desire, the mentorship that you're getting, the suggestions that you're getting? And people are always telling you exactly what your gifts are. They're always telling you exactly what your gifts are. You just need to listen to it. How can you take that and make that your unique vision and that drives you, right? Because I remember someone told me, like, you shouldn't do courses, but I'm like, but you don't understand that I want to make a big impact. You're thinking courses because of X, Y, Z, but my drive to do it is because then a million people can take it. And I'm not doing a million one-on-one coaching sessions, which is impossible. So I love that, Danielle. It's like, take the little seeds and then you figure out how to plant them. You figure out how to plant them, in what way, in what order, and what works for you. We're all unique. We all have own gifts and journeys and lessons and life and obligations and roles. And it's not a one size fits all, ever.
And we all fall into categories, but we're our own niche. I think that's some of the best advice I ever got he's a photographer, and the minute he honed in on his niche, he found financial success.
Yeah.
Where when he was just a photographer to anyone, he was just among the photographers. But then when he started doing just real estate, he found the financial success he too needed. And so I look at my art like that. So I really channel being an aerialist into my art, or being, a mom aerialist. Like I channel being a mom into how I project myself online, so other women feel great about taking on, a different new sport or athletic adventure. Yeah. So anyway, so like really honing in on your niche, knowing that your goal is different and it might not look like what someone else perceives for you. I love that you're there for people. Like, I really hope that I'm in a position to reach out to you when I want to make sure that the people under me are comfortable and that I'm comfortable with the people under me. So I love that you're there for the growth of entrepreneurs in that way, because
100%.
we all know that it's investing in ourselves the way to go.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, Danielle, you're a great resource for people who are saying, like, I might not be able to offer the compensation that this other company is offering, but let me offer you something else that's way more valuable, and that's becoming a way bigger thing in the next couple of years. It's already become one, right? So I love that you give an opportunity for those who are willing to seek other solutions. Love that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And
I think we all fall under that, what you just said. When someone wants to seek other, like, different ways for solutions, we kind of reach out to one of us.
Most definitely. And the whole concept, like you were saying, is that, we all are learning what we're learning, and that's what drives us to do the things that we do. And because everything's all been done, really, but we have our own experiences, our own stories that shapes the way that we craft whatever we're crafting to share our unique way and niche down to whether it's the people or the process, but it's all come from our story, the mentors that we've learned, the things that we do, our experience with it. And then that shapes the way that it's then delivered to whoever.
Yeah.
No, I think this has been an amazing conversation. Hopefully our listeners take some of that inspiration. If you're an organization, definitely reach out to Danielle. She's got some amazing stuff to offer. Because it really is the piece is that new capital, especially going into 2025. And this has been a great conversation for that. Hopefully it inspires some of our listeners. Great to have you on. It's good to see you here. Again, my name is Graham. I'm the owner of Valued Productions. You can find me online at valuedproductions.com, VALUD Productions. Same thing, social media at Valued Productions. Joined with my co-host today.
Hey everyone, Trinity Baker, mindset coach and motivational speaker. If you are looking for some inspiration on what that next step might be to choose a different hard so that you can take the journey that you're meant to be on, you can go and connect with me on my website, thetrinitybaker.com. Lots of free resources. You don't have to do this alone. We're all here for you. Joined here with my co-host.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle, and I'm the owner of Aerial Jade. My students are the ages of 7 to 54, so I'm here to inspire a range of humans. For me personally, I am a mom, and I put that first. And I am technically an owner of 2 businesses, so I really drive. You can do it too. So please follow me on all your platforms, Aerial Jade. And we are here with our guest today.
Danielle Abbott with the Abbott Advantage. You can view my website at theabbottadvantage.com. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the socials. I would love to talk to anybody about their cultures that they have and really creating those a place that people want to show up, work, and do their best. Your employees are the biggest expense and capital that you have to have a thriving business. So we really want to invest in those. And so I'm open to any conversations or chatting about any struggles that you might be having to see if we can partner and create that environment you're really hoping for.
Feeling stuck in your career? I'm Jessica Visick, a certified professional career coach. From resumes that land interviews to strategies that drive career pivots, I've helped clients like you transform their careers. Visit yourcareerpartner.net to start your journey today.
And thank you guys so much for having me today. It was great.
That was
Yes, of
amazing.
course.
Yeah. Listeners, make sure you take advantage of that resource that she's offering. So definitely invest in your teams and growth and everything. And then the Unfiltered Path podcast is a great place for that inspiration. So make sure you go follow Unfiltered Path podcast on all the places where your podcasts are, YouTube, all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, and all that. And we will see you all next week on the Unfiltered Path podcast.